Hey y'all, and welcome to another speed build. Today we're building some tiny little forest tree houses, and I'm building here on the lot called Cordelia's Secret Cottage. If you don't know, this lot is just tucked away at like the very top of the cottage living map. It's sort of like away from the city, away from everything, and sort of hidden, so I thought it would be perfect for this sort of enchanted forest vibe that I was going for. And as you can see, I've begun working on the first tree house here, the first of 3, and I've sized up this tree stump from Cottage Living, which is just beautiful, covered in moss, to sort of give the impression that the tree house is resting on this tree stump and also on another debug tree that you can see back there. But an unforeseen consequence of sizing up this tree stump was that the mushrooms are huge. If your Sims stand next to them, yeah, they're just giant mushrooms. And that might be a little weird, but I actually thought it kind of went with the enchanted forest vibe. You know, I think that was kind of when I decided that these weren't going to be just tree houses, they were going to be like tree houses with the magical, whimsical vibe. And I've moved on to the second tree house now, and I fiddle around a little bit. It was kind of tough getting the positioning and the sizing just right in relation to the first cottage, but I figured it out in the end, and there is a cute little staircase leading from the first cottage to the second. So that is a little weird gameplay wise. You have to walk through one cottage to get to another, but I just really love the look that it gave. Kind of absurd, silly, magical, whatever. And as far as color scheme and wallpaper goes, I went with this gorgeous wallpaper from Seasons, the one with the timber up top with a sort of stone base. I chose a sort of really light brown swatch, a subtle one, and I kind of carried that throughout all 3 of the cottages. They're quite matchy-matchy. And I also tried to throw in a couple of subtle green accents on all of them. There's a green front door on that first cottage. This second one has a little bit of green painted timber. And I just pair it with this really simple thatched roof from Cottage Living. I really just wanted to go for a lot of natural looking colors, earth tones, browns, greens, that sort of thing, so it could sort of blend in with the forest around it. And now I've begun kind of figuring out this third tree house, and I'm sure you can tell by now all 3 are very similar, but I did want them to each have a little bit of an individual touch. So they've got different front doors, different chimneys, etc. The tree house on the far left has a bunch of roof decals that I think are super cute, just to give them, like I said, like a little bit of individuality so they don't look too similar. But yeah, overall I really like the way that these turned out, and I had a lot of fun building them. I was actually in sort of a rut before I started building this, and thankfully this build just kind of came together and saved the day, got me out of my building rut, so that's always good. And in a second here, I'm going to add one of my favorite touches, which is just little hanging lanterns. I sized up these lanterns from Cottage Living and hung them beneath this treehouse on the left. I also hang a few on the far right treehouse, and I think they just give this beautiful little magic vibe. I don't know, it just something about it. I love fairy lights, I love hanging lanterns, things like that. I was actually thinking of getting the little campers kit just for the fairy lights, but I haven't done that yet. Maybe it'll go on sale soon. But yeah, absolutely love those hanging lanterns. And then in a second here, I grab some debug items and start figuring out what I want to do landscaping wise. At first I was thinking I would grab some more of these cute little Cottage Living mushrooms, size them up again to give that sort of whimsical, silly vibe. But unfortunately they got a very weird texture when I sized them up. You might be able to see there. So I didn't end up keeping most of the mushrooms that I put down. Thankfully, the ones that were on the log that I placed initially, the one that's kind of the heart of this build, didn't get any weird texture, which was nice, but that was a little bit of a disappointment because I really was looking forward to having a bunch of giant mushrooms all over the place. But anyway, as you can see to the left there, I've also added a little pond, which I actually do end up reworking in a little bit as soon as I'm done with these little stepping stone pathways. I also add another tree stump underneath of this right-hand cottage here. This time it's from base game, but I just thought that cottage kind of needed a little bit more support. It looked a little bit like it was floating, and I think it just looks so much better with that little base game tree stump underneath. But yeah, this right here is my second attempt at the lake or pond, excuse me, and I think this one goes much better. This time I decide to wrap it around the whole build and kind of bring it around toward the right so it's kind of peeking through, and something about that just looked cuter. It worked better for me. I add this really nice lake texture from Get Together. But yeah, I think my second attempt went much better. I'm much happier with it. But yeah, I should probably mention as well, this build is sort of a limited pack build. There's still quite a few packs, but less than what I usually do. I used cats and dogs, cottage living, eco lifestyle, seasons, and country kitchen kit. Those are the ones that I like. They all give like a similar vibe, so I think my thought process was probably a lot of people who only have a few packs have those packs, especially if they're into cottagey kind of gameplay. So anyway, I hope that this is like accessible to some people, and if it's not, I do make more limited pack builds. I'm even doing a base game only save file, so stay tuned for that, or leave a suggestion if there's something that you want to see. And also I'll leave my gallery ID down below if you want to check out any of my builds or any of my social media or any of that. But here I am beginning on the interior of the first treehouse, the one on the far right. I decided to go for a pink color scheme inside of this one that actually came together really nicely. Sometimes when I do a pink build, which I actually do surprisingly often, it sort of ends up like too pink, like almost sickly pink, like Barbie. Not that there's anything wrong with Barbie, but there's a time and a place, and I feel like I really like this color scheme because it's slightly more subtle, but still gives like a nice pink vibe. And I tried to fit as much as I could in this cottage given how tiny it is, and you definitely have all the necessities. I got this really beautiful canopy bed with the pink accents from Seasons. I add a sizable kitchen, an easel for skill building, and a fully functional bathroom. I also added those cute little aprons that came with base game in one of those recent updates, those content drops, you know. And then as far as wallpaper goes, I went with some white paneling as well as this stone accent that's from base game, and I didn't realize it, but that has some pink undertones in it, so it went quite nicely with the color scheme. And then this bathroom is only 3 tiles wide, but it fits a fully functional shower and toilet, and then your Sims can feel free to wash their hands in the kitchen sink, I suppose. And I have play tested all of these tree houses. I brought Bob and Eliza pancakes, I think, over, if I'm remembering correctly, and I had them live out a few days, test out all the kitchens and stuff, and everything should be good to go. And here I am working on the middle tree house. This one has more of a green color scheme, I guess, and this one definitely has the most cabin vibes out of all of them. A lot of greens, a lot of dark browns, you know the vibe. And then I added that beautiful little fireplace from Eco Lifestyle. Honestly, I wasn't going to use Eco Lifestyle on this build, but I simply couldn't fit any fireplaces in these cottages except for that little tiny one, so I decided to just bite the bullet and just include Eco Lifestyle. The only other thing that I use from that pack is a basket of blankets, I think, that I kind of tuck under the bed in the next cabin. But other than that, I don't think that I really used many items for that pack, but I am a sucker for a good fireplace, so here we are. And you may have seen I added that little dream home decorator rug underneath the bed. That was the only dream home decorator item that I used, but I just simply could not find another rug that I liked, and I just decided to use dream home decorator, so I'm sorry for using so many packs, but that was the only dream home decorator item that I used. So if you don't have it, you can certainly still download this and replace it with whichever rug you like. And I have added a cute little kitchen using those counters from the Country Kitchen Kit. I add another easel as well as a bike. It was hard to find the space to fit a lot of skill building items, to be honest, but easels are tiny, so that's why I added so many of them. And then here I am in another 3-tile wide bathroom. This one is slightly different because I decided to use the shower from university, so I can add a sink into this bathroom and have it be fully functional. And then in a second here, I will move on to the very last cabin. So this one, I think you would call it like a gray or blue color scheme, but it's really quite neutral. I did things a little differently in this cabin. I added a loft bed for the sake of space. And I really couldn't find the space for any skill building items in this home, but I did manage to fit a computer. I just put it on a desk underneath of the loft bed. You'll see here that I initially tried to put a table underneath so that your sim could have 2 places to sit, but unfortunately it's not functional. For some reason, only the desks are functional underneath of the loft beds, so I had to switch that out for a desk. And you'll see that later in the screenshots. I didn't catch it until I was playtesting it, but it looks pretty much the same. And then I'll move over just slightly and begin working on the teeny tiny little kitchen. It is just a mini fridge from university that is in this plain white swatch, a counter from Cottage Living, and this beautiful stove from Country Kitchen Kit. So really the world's smallest kitchen. It wraps around this corner here, 3 tiles wide, but it is fully functional. And even though there's no sink, there is a bathroom sink, so if your Sims want to wash dishes, etc., they can do that in there. And even though it is a little strange size and shape wise, it's still kind of cute. You know, it's not an ugly kitchen. I don't mind it. And then I just clutter up these teeny tiny shelves with a cookie jar, some books, some flowers, just like a little bit of clutter. And I think it turns out, yeah, it's not too bad looking. And then I just throw a coat rack and a couple of little entryway items. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to hang up on the wall here, so I think maybe a broom, but in the end I decided to go with this base game bookshelf. And I think it looks really good. It's a little modern maybe for this style of build, but I think it looks okay. And then I add another 3-tile wide bathroom, because that's really all I had room for in these houses. But I think it's cute. I added a little bathrobe and a little bit of clutter, and I think I like the way that it turned out. But this video is pretty much done, so I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye! Peace out!